What's going on, everybody? My name is Eric, and my currently faceless co host over there, his name is Will, and you are watching the Fantasy Football Busters podcast. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. If you enjoy the video at any time, if you feel like you gained any useful information from it, drop us a like. It helps us out a ton. We'd appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that good YouTube stuff. That helps us out as well, but it's going to help you out too because it'll keep you in the loop for all of the fantastic fantasy football information that we put out each and every week. So, with that being said, we're going to be talking start sits today. And if you've joined us in the past for any of our previous start sit videos, you already know the deal. You know how we do it. You know why Will isn't on camera yet. But if you haven't joined us before, let me explain it to you. So we do it a little bit differently than you would typically see other start sit videos, but we compile a list of 20 kind of fringe-worthy flex plays, people that you're going to be deciding between for your last spot in your lineup, whether it be flex or RB2, wide receiver 2, tight end, whatever it is, kind of those borderline guys. And we put them into matchups. So we have 10 total matchups, and Will and I have to decide which one we think is going to do better this week. And so that's kind of where the fun competition comes in. Typically, we agree, but when we disagree, whoever gets the most right obviously wins. Whoever loses has to show up to the next episode in a mask, a hat, a costume, whatever it may be. Doesn't really matter. It's just got to be funny. So now that you guys know what's going on, Will, you ready to show us what you got going on?
Yeah, man. Sitting at 1 and 10. I'm just hoping that this week I can steal a win. I'm just hoping. I gotta get shisty. I gotta get shisty now, bro. I gotta take the kid gloves off, man. It's getting out of hand. It's
Yeah,
get,
you're showing up ready for this one.
yeah, man. I'm ready. I'm good to go, dog. I'm ready.
Bro. Oh man, yeah, I'm not ready. I don't think. I think you might have this one in the bag.
Hey, man.
Looking like that.
Hey, man. At 1 and 10, I got him right where I want him.
Oh yeah,
Oh
oh yeah.
yeah,
It was a long con. You're ready to go now.
yeah. I can still win this.
All right, all right, all right. I dig it. I love the look. But let's get into our week 12 sits and starts today. We got all the position groups: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, flex, and tight end. And Will, you get to decide. Would you like to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first on this one. I
I
don't
get
really
to go
think it matters
first.
too much, but hey.
All right. Well, I'll kick us off starting at the quarterback position with our first matchup between Kirk Cousins taking on the New England Patriots or Daniel Jones on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. So this one is pretty difficult for me. Kirk Cousins is coming off of a really, really tough loss to Dallas, who Daniel Jones is playing this week, where it was just a relentless pass rush, couldn't get anything going. I think he only scored like 2 fantasy points. But it's not that much easier this week. He gets New England, who's also incredibly difficult against the run and the pass. I do expect him to do better than 2 points from last week, but I wouldn't say he's a hot commodity to start this week. Daniel Jones also kind of struggled against Detroit, of all teams, last week. He did okay, but not the best. And then he gets a really tough matchup in Dallas here. Seeing what Dallas did to Kirk Cousins, it makes it really hard to side with Daniel Jones. And I think that the Vikings are probably going to be on a bounce back week after getting embarrassed last week. So I think I'm going to go Kirk Cousins by just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of mirror that sentiment. The only thing that made me think about Daniel Jones for just a little bit is that rushing floor that he does have. And I do
Yeah,
feel like this is a game where he will be running for his life a good majority of it. It's just a matter
true.
of he can do something else with that too. But with the receiving core being as diminished as it is,
Yeah.
and, Dallas being as good as they are, I'm definitely banking on Kirk Cousins as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The rushing matters, but I think because Wandale just got hurt and it was already a depleted wide receiver core,
Hmm.
where's he going to go with the ball? He's got to make split second decisions against his defense. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, completely agree there.
Yeah. So we'll get into our second quarterback matchup. We got Jacoby Brissett taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or the opposing team. We got Tom Brady at Cleveland versus the Browns.
If you had asked me this question about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I'd have said Jacoby Brissett all the way. Tom Brady's head just isn't in it. But
Yeah.
now that the divorce is finalized, the results of the FTX going under have already been, revealed and all that. I think Tom Brady now, he's got the focus and he's got to make a lot of money, bro. So he's got to make it to a Super Bowl. So Tom Brady against Cleveland. I kind of like Tom Brady against Cleveland. I like the weapons Tom Brady has more than the ones Jacoby Brissett has. You know, Amari Cooper, David, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or David Njoku versus Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones. This one should be one of those ones. It's a no-brainer, but based on how the season has gone, yeah, of course, it's a lot more difficult than that. But I
Yeah.
do think Tom Brady. I think bright days are ahead for the Buccaneers. I think they will be hitting finally like that bounce back where people are kind of expecting, especially after the bye week. So I'm going Tom Brady.
Going with Tom Brady, huh?
Going with the goat.
I wanted to pull this up. I should have done this before, but I was looking at the stats last night when I was putting this list together, and Tom Brady, I don't think has scored 20 fantasy points since like week 4 or week 3 or something. Sometime early in the season. Jacoby Brissett is coming off of a game where he just put up over 20 fantasy points, and that's not the end all be all necessarily, but I feel like Jacoby has been outperforming expectations by quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this Cleveland offense has actually been doing pretty well these past couple weeks. They definitely hit kind of a slump there in the few weeks prior to this stretch that they've been on. Um, Cleveland as a run defense is pretty terrible, so I feel like that's tough to say too, because Tampa Bay has been terrible as a running offense. Maybe Rachaad White can spark that a little bit. I was gonna say they don't necessarily have to rely on the pass that much. I don't know. I'm gonna do a little shock the world here. I'm gonna go with Jacoby Brissett, and we'll see what he can do against Tampa Bay this week.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I can't lose by betting on Tom Brady, right?
I would hope not. I feel like what I'm doing is dumb, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So we'll get into our running back position here with our first matchup. In this same game, this one is just to annoy people. Leonard Fournette against Cleveland or Rachaad White against Cleveland.
Oh boy. Well, this one's all you to start off with, so I'm excited to hear your rationale for this one.
Yeah, I guess this one does go to me. I have both of these guys on a fantasy team in our main league. Will and I play in together. So yeah, I'm personally going to be making this decision. Even last week, in a week where Leonard Fournette went down, I think in the late third quarter with his hip injury, he didn't return to the game. Rachaad White did get the start. But prior to Leonard Fournette's injury, they had been splitting snaps fairly evenly. And then obviously Rachaad White took over after the fact. But they scored basically the same amount of points. Leonard Fournette got there because of a touchdown. Rachaad White got there because of yardage. Coming out of the bye week now, do we think that they change things up? Do we think they hand the reins to Rachaad White? It's going to be really hard for me to sit Leonard Fournette in this situation. I think I'm going to ride with him until it's clear that the Rachaad White takeover has happened.
Yeah, I'm going to mirror that 100% just based off the fact that every week I've thought that something would be a smash week for a younger player. It just hasn't been. Like, I feel like Rachaad White is the play that everyone wants to make this week, but it's just not going to be the smart play until we see what the team is actually doing with him coming out of the bye week. So,
yeah,
definitely going to mirror that and go with Leonard Fournette as well. I just think that makes the most sense at the moment.
I don't know why this is just hitting me, but like hearing you do this like hard hitting fantasy analysis in your fucking ski mask is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, a little bit of juxtaposition for the folks.
Yeah. I dig it. All right, so we were in agreement there on Leonard Fournette. And then we got Latavius Murray, who is now the clear-cut starter with Melvin Gordon gone and Chase Edmonds also on IR. Not also, but he's on IR with a high ankle sprain. They're taking on Carolina on the road, or Miles Sanders taking on the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, so Miles Sanders has kind of seen his struggles as of late as well. And the Green Bay Packers defense, as much as the offense has underperformed, the defense hasn't been all too bad. They've just been on the field a lot, so they've given up a lot more points than they probably should. I don't really see that being too different, though, for the Eagles. I kind of like Latavius Murray just because of how clear of a play that he is, just because Melvin Gordon isn't there anymore. Chase Edmonds also out this week. I think if there's anyone who's going to get leaned on a lot this week in the run game and maybe even the passing game a little bit too, it should be Latavius Murray. So,
Yeah, I like that take. They're taking on Carolina, who's been, okay, I guess, as a defense. But again, their offense has been so bad they're just on the field a ton, like you mentioned for Green Bay.
mm-hmm.
Latavius, like I mentioned, is the clear cut RB1 now. He doesn't really have much competition. I feel like he's going to get the full workload. He's going to be the guy that I would bet on probably between these two that's more likely to score a touchdown. So I think I kind of lean his direction. Green Bay has been more susceptible to the run, I believe, than the pass. So Miles Sanders has the advantage there. But yeah, I feel like Latavius is more likely to score a touchdown. Um, but does Denver even score a touchdown against
that's
any defense?
that's the issue right
Like,
there. Will Denver score points?
yeah, they just played the Raiders, who was like the worst defense in the league. Latavius did score; he scored one touchdown, but Russell didn't score any points. They lost, so tough to predict that. I'm My heart says Latavius Murray. My head says Miles Sanders. I'm gonna go with Miles Sanders here.
Miles Sanders for the play. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I have to say, Latavius also not going to blast Future in the locker room, so everybody should be nice and focused for the game.
That shit's hilarious, man. And then the meme that Melvin posted on the way out of him in the white Bronco,
Mm-hmm.
too good,
Y'all,
too good.
y'all fans was hell.
Yeah. All right, so that'll take us into our wide receiver matchups here. The first one, we got Donovan Peoples-Jones taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or Traylon Burks taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. So this one is to me. Um, Donovan Peoples-Jones has been really, really consistent. He's not blowing the doors off. He's not doing anything crazy, but he's been, I think, between like 8 and 14 fantasy points for the past like 5 or 6 weeks. He's been kind of under the radar, but really producing pretty well for fantasy. Traylon Burks just came back off of his foot injury, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and put together a really nice game last week with like 7 catches for over 100 yards. Cincinnati's pass defense has been pretty good. I want to say that they're like eighth against, or as far as like fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position, somewhere in the top 10. And Tampa has been a little bit easier to score against. This one's a little tough. I think I'm probably going to lean Traylon Burks just because I feel like he's the clear-cut one in an offense that, needs a playmaker at the receiver position, whereas Amari Cooper is that one for Cleveland. So I think I'm going to lean Traylon Burks here.
Yeah, I actually agree with you there. Traylon Burks, I feel like should be the play here. I feel like we got a good stretch of games coming from him because I think that throughout the season he has grown a lot. I think his role in this offense has grown a lot, and I think that last week we had the concerns where a lot of his catches were not very dynamic. A lot of them are very routine catch, get tackled. But I do think this week is an opportunity for him to get ramped up a little bit more, even, especially against Cincinnati, who's been putting up points. So the Titans should also have to put up points as well.
True. Yeah, that's a really good point. Whereas in the Cleveland Tampa Bay matchup, that really might not be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that analysis there. We'll move on to our second wide receiver matchup between Paris Campbell taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, or Demarcus Robinson, who just popped off last week, versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, nobody saw Demarcus Robinson coming. But with Paris Campbell, he's definitely in a spot right now where he's splitting a lot of touches right now. It's not splitting touches because they're both wide receivers, but at the same time, him and Michael Pittman's usage have been very, very similar to the point where you don't know which one of them is going to be the 1A or 1B until someone scores, essentially. But with Demarcus Robinson, I don't know. He's kind of looking like he looked like the clear-cut one last week, honestly. But also Mark Andrews still getting back from injury, still kind of ramping up. So I'm not really expecting another huge week out of Demarcus Robinson again with, Mark Andrews getting close to being back to full health. So I think I'm going to lean Paris Campbell in this situation. I don't think the Ravens are going to have to do too much against the Jaguars really to win. I think we may be in for another week like last week where it's pretty low scoring, but the Ravens are able to squeak away with the win. Whereas with not Philadelphia, with Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. I think a good amount of points are actually going to get put up on the board in this game. I got a feeling about that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to lean
Not
Paris Campbell here.
all right. Yeah, I like that. And I think all of what you said is correct, but also on the other side of the coin, like you mentioned, the Ravens not really having to do much against Jacksonville, similar to what they did last week. Like uh, we didn't think they were going to have to do too much against Carolina, and
That's
they
true.
didn't. And also, Demarcus Robinson went off. Like, not that
That's
I
true.
disagree with you. It's just that's the potential here. I do think that, like you said, Mark Andrews is still kind of getting ramped back up from his injury. Hopefully, he's closer to 100%, and he takes over as the true number one in that offense. Um, yeah, Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman, like you said, have been kind of splitting pretty evenly as far as fantasy production. The matchups for both of these teams are good. I think Pittsburgh is legit last in fantasy points allowed, meaning like a good thing. Like they allow the most points to wide receivers, and Jacksonville is near the bottom as well. But I think I'm going to agree with you because I do agree. I think points scored is probably going to favor the Colts and Pittsburgh over there. So I'll go Paris Campbell.
Hell yeah.
So that takes us into our flex matchups between running backs and wide receivers. First one on the board here is Deonta Foreman taking on the Denver Broncos or Josh Palmer on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. This one goes back to me. I don't want to make this decision, man. Deonta Foreman has been up and down. Not necessarily his fault. It's really just kind of a game script thing where if the Panthers get down big early, he's not going to be very involved because he's not much of a pass catcher. I don't expect Denver to jump out to any sort of big lead. They can't score points, but it's also tough to predict that they're going to have a lot of success on the ground because Denver's defense is pretty close to the top of the league in that category. Josh Palmer, on the other hand, is coming off the heels of a big game last week. Keenan Allen is going to be playing in this one. We don't know whether or not Mike Williams is going to be able to get on the field after kind of re-aggravating that ankle injury last week. Arizona also is pretty decent against wide receivers, especially against wide receiver ones, but I would imagine that in this case, that would be Keenan Allen, probably not Josh Palmer. So he should be, he's not going up against like their top corner. He's not getting bracket coverage or anything like that. So I'll probably go Josh Palmer here, but I really think Deonta has a chance to go off if they just dominate this matchup against Denver.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I like Denver against the run this year. I think they're somewhere like 12 or 13 so far on the season.
Okay.
So they're not like super elite, but they are, they're not really middle of the pack either. They're towards the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
But like you said, Josh Palmer, they shouldn't be looking at him as a number one in this instance. It should be like a Keenan Allen, or we don't know if Mike Williams is going to play this week. I kind of doubt that. So I think Josh Palmer is going to end up getting a lot of burn as a result of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I am going to lean towards Josh Palmer as well. Especially Deonta Foreman's kind of seen some struggles as of late. Not like huge struggles, but not the huge boom weeks we've seen early on with him
Yeah.
this year.
He's like ping pong in between good and bad. Like I think he's gone from like 18 points to 3 points to
Yeah.
19 points to 2 points. It's been back and forth. So yeah, we'll see if that trend continues, and if it does, then maybe he was the right decision this week. But yeah, we're both in agreement on Josh Palmer here. The last flex matchup here is between Isaiah Pacheco taking on the Los Angeles Rams or Jacoby Myers on the road against the Minnesota Vikings.
So this is just my outlooks, I guess, for these two players and how these, at least how I think these game scripts are going to go. With the
Sure.
Rams, I think the Rams are pretty bad. I think that's kind of a general consensus around here.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs, obviously, are very good. So this is a game potentially where things could get out of hand, and Isaiah Pacheco ends up running the ball a lot to end up, getting the clock, keep the clock running. Might end up scoring. Who even knows, man? It's the Chiefs. Anybody can score any given week. With
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers, we got the number one receiver in an offense going up against, Minnesota, who also has had a pretty dynamic offense, minus last week, of course. But that's a game where both teams should have to put up points. So Jacoby Myers should get a good amount of looks. So I feel like Isaiah Pacheco is a good floor play, but I feel like Jacoby Myers has that ceiling. And I think they're gonna have to take advantage of that this week. So I'm gonna go Jacoby Myers, I think. I like the Isaiah Pacheco play. I think it could end up working out. He could have a big week, but I think Jacoby Myers has a higher ceiling, at least outlook for me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a tight one. Tough decision to make. I think you make a good point that, the Chiefs are probably going to get up big against LA, especially if Matthew Stafford doesn't play. Even if he does, it doesn't matter,
Yeah, it
man. They're going
doesn't
to
matter.
dominate this game. Yeah. But the Rams have actually been, I think, top 10 in the league as far as fantasy points allowed to running backs. They've been fairly stingy in that category. They're just terrible against the pass. Sorry for the pause. Isaiah Pacheco, man, he's clearly shown that he's really talented. He's looked really good on film. I don't think he's scored this season. I don't know that he's scored at all. He hasn't scored at least recently. Where Jacoby Myers has actually found his way into the end zone a few times, and like you said, I think they're going to have to rely on him more against this Minnesota offense as far as keeping up. So I think I'm probably going to agree with you here and go Jacoby Myers.
Say I'm taking a look now too, and Minnesota is towards the bottom of the league in terms of like pass defense right now as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So that'll help out. We just I hate betting on Mac Jones. That's the biggest part.
Yeah, you got to think about it. You're betting on Jacoby Myers, you know. Like
Yeah,
nobody
yep.
back in the day was betting on Tom Savage. They were betting on DeAndre Hopkins, you know.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point. I like it. All right, we'll get into our tight end matchups here. We got David Njoku taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coming off of his injury, or Juwan Johnson, who we keep talking about. Man, he's on fire.
Mhm.
On the road against San Francisco. So this one's me, right?
Mhm.
David Njoku started the season fantastic. He was a top 5 tight end. He looked really, really good. He was heavily targeted. And then he got this high ankle sprain. And so he came back last week from his high ankle sprain. And just like on the film, he didn't look too hampered by it. He hurdled somebody. He looked athletic and stuff like that. But as far as target share, he was out targeted by a lot by Harrison Bryant, which was pretty unexpected, at least to me.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know that that's necessarily going to continue, but it's tough to predict where the ball is going to go in this Cleveland offense outside of handing it to Nick Chubb and throwing it to Amari Cooper.
Mhm.
Um, Juwan Johnson, on the other hand, has been incredibly consistent as of late. These past 5 games, he's scored, I believe, is it 5 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns now? I'm
Let
not
me
sure.
let me double check. I'll double
Yeah,
check.
he's up there. He's been scoring quite a bit. He's taken on San Francisco though, who's a really tough defense, and they're one of the best defenses in the league as far as fantasy points allowed to tight ends. So that one scares me. I think the Cleveland Tampa Bay matchup is going to be a little bit closer, whereas I think San Francisco is probably going to dominate New Orleans, and they're going to have to throw a lot late. And Juwan Johnson has been doing well in tight game scripts, but he's also been doing well in garbage time.
Mhm.
So I think for that reason, I'm gonna stick with the hot hand and go with Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, I like that logic. I agree with it also, and it's 5 touchdowns on the season so far.
Okay,
Yep.
got it. Yeah, so 5 for 5 in his
Mhm.
last 5 games.
And yeah, I also mirror those sentiments. I think Juwan Johnson has an opportunity to have a big week this week, or at least a bigger week than David Njoku. It's one of those situations again where I want to see a little bit more because he was just coming back from injury. We're kind of hoping that the production's gonna take off a little bit more, but at the same time, who knows really?
Yeah,
Because he could also just not be at 100% full health yet, and then after this week they go to bye, and then Deshaun Watson's back, so who even knows what's gonna happen after that? What the tickler's
right.
gonna do? So I'm gonna lean towards Juwan Johnson. It's kind of hard to bet against the guy who's been the tight end like 2 since week 6, you know.
Facts.
So it's
Yeah,
gonna have to go with Juwan Johnson there.
I dig it. Sticking with the hot hand. He's our guy. He's
He's
got the endorsement from the channel.
Hey man, he's your guy. He's my guy too. But you were the one who brought him to everybody's attention. I want you to get that credit. So everybody, thank you. Say thank you, Eric, if you picked up Juwan Johnson. He's been holding down the tight end position for you.
I appreciate it. We do this together, though, man. It's a team effort.
I appreciate that, man.
Of course. Let's get into our final matchup of the day. Dawson Knox on the road against Detroit, or Foster Moreau also on the road taking on the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the most. This is a lot of fantasy football analysis right here, but it all really comes down to fuck the Raiders. I'm going with Dawson Knox against the Lions.
Yeah.
I trust the Bills a lot more, man. I don't understand what this Raiders team is doing. Do we know if Devonte Adams is going to play this week? Do we have any word on
Is
that?
he
I thought there was
is he hurt?
some sort of designation for him, but it could just be.
Uh, I don't think so, but I don't think I've heard anything. Let me see.
I might be thinking of the last week. Yeah, that was last week. He was limited, not
Yeah,
this
yeah,
week.
yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
with Devonte Adams out
Phew.
there fully healthy, yeah, we're all good. We're all good. That was last week. He was limited. I remember seeing it though. But
Yeah.
Dawson Knox, I just after last week, especially he had 9 catches last week. I don't think he's gonna get that many again. Let me double
I
check
don't.
that now.
It might have been 7, but he was heavily targeted. I think he went like 7 for 70.
Let me double check. But yeah, honestly, it really comes down to offenses and who I trust more. Yeah, 7 for 70, like you said. I just don't trust Foster Moreau. I don't trust the Raiders offense. Seattle's not the best defense in the world, but at the same time, Detroit also is not. They're towards the bottom of the league as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm leaning towards the better offense against a bad defense instead of the more shaky offense against a somewhat okay defense, you know? Especially since
Yeah.
Jordan Brooks has been playing pretty well this year, especially in coverage.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, Dawson Knox had started the season pretty bad. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people labeled him as like, a late round tight end that could do really well. Thought he was going to score a lot of touchdowns like he did last year, and it just hasn't been the case. But he's been way more involved in the offense these past handful of weeks. Last week being probably the best performance that he's had so far with a high target share and a lot of involvement. He's taken on Detroit, like you said, who's not a very good defense, but they're also terrible against the run. And maybe with the way that we've seen Josh Allen play and him still dealing with that elbow injury, they'll want to lean on the run a little bit more if they can get away with it. And I think they can against Detroit. Whereas Foster Moreau against Seattle, it's really just Devonte Adams and nobody else. And like Foster Moreau is probably the second best receiving option. I guess you could argue Mac Hollins, but somewhere in there. And Seattle has been either 31st or 32nd as far as fantasy points allowed to tight ends. So you love that matchup.
Mm, got
That's
you.
why I put him on here. That's why it's a little bit tighter for me. But I think I'm still probably going to lean towards Dawson Knox and agree with you just because I'm not going to bet on Derek Carr and the Raiders, like you said. I'm going to bet on Josh Allen, the better offense, the team that has more potential to score here in the Bills.
Yeah, I mirror that. I just fucking hate the Raiders, man. Not as much as I hate the Broncos, but yeah.
Yeah. Man, I thought we were going to disagree more. We had 2 disagreements in the first 4, and then we're hand in hand, lockstep the rest of the way.
Hey man, it's the way to go. You gotta always listen to Eric, man. You know.
Now you're stealing the win this week. You're ready.
Hey, we're gonna find out. I'm feeling shisty.
Feeling shiesty. He's
Feeling
ready to go.
shisty. But
All
hey,
right.
appreciate you guys for making it through this video. That's our sit starts for the week. If you learned anything from this video, let us know. Drop it down in the comments. Make sure you give us a like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff to help us out with the YouTube algorithm, to help get the word out there. We hope you guys are enjoying this content too. We do a good amount of work, so appreciate you guys for watching. And happy holidays, man. You guys should be seeing
Yeah.
this on Thanksgiving. We didn't really say that at the beginning of the video. We forgot.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Turkey Day. Drop down in the comments what's your favorite Thanksgiving food.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And then make sure you check us out on our other socials as well. We have Twitter. Our links are down in the bios. We have a TikTok as well where we do some other stuff outside of this channel. We also have a fun spin the wheel challenge that we're about to record right after this. So check that out as well. And Eric, you got anything else for the people?
Yeah, man. Just for the YouTube stuff, I guess you already mentioned drop a like, subscribe. We mentioned that at the top of the video. If you enjoyed, if you gain anything from it, do that for us. That'll help us out, but it'll also keep you in the loop for all of the good fantasy football content we got coming out down the road. Also, we are only doing 3 videos this week since we got Thanksgiving coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going to be replacing our buy sell video, which we've been doing each and every week, with something else, a little bit of a surprise since the trade deadline is coming up. So that'll be kind of out of the way. We got something else cooking for you guys that I'm pretty excited about. So come check us out next week for that. And something that I always forget to mention, we are giving out free fantasy football advice every single video and just all the time, not even just in the videos. If you drop something down in the comments, if you want your sit start questions answered, trade questions answered, literally anything, drop it in the comments. Hit us up on TikTok, hit me up on Twitter, hit Will up on Twitter,
Hmm.
whatever it may be. We are here to help you. No paywall, nothing. We got you. So engage with us, be part of the community. We love you. If you stuck with us till the end, as always, much appreciated. Happy Thanksgiving again, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Gang shit, gang shit.